Eric and I's first videos were mainly just us sitting around. We would, just get out the camera and shoot us just goofing off.
Uh-oh, got on the microphone.
This later evolved into something that we called the Dave TV Show.
Dave TV Show! Isn't that nice?
Where we would just shoot us sitting in this chair in Eric's living room, which we dubbed the acting chair.
And we're back in the ever faithful, treachery, and smelly acting chair.
And I played the character of Dave.
Darrell hosted it, and I would appear on the show as various characters. The whole thing is improv too, of course. We're just anything that's on top of your head.
Dave is not all that nice on film. I mean, everybody who watches it, you think, oh, here's the mic.
I just appear as I'm a guest. I'm a star. I played in some B horror movie or something, and Darrell's asking me questions, and we did that for many years. We had a Dave TV show, Christmas edition. We had so many Dave TV shows, spanning from '88 to '94. So you can kind of see us growing up and getting older and older.
In 1989, I was in 8th grade, and in homeroom, I came up with the idea for The Burglar. The thing that's so interesting to me about The Burglar is it was our first true movie.
We made The Burglar, which featured Darrell as the burglar and me as Mr. E.
This is Mr. E.
And doubling as the dumb guy.
Up until that point, we'd been doing little skits and episodes. But The Burglar was our first narrative film. It had a beginning, a middle, end. It was cut together, various shots cut together to tell a narrative story.
The premise was you have this bumbling idiot guy who's just is just oblivious to anything around him. Enter the burglar. He's been assigned to steal some jewels out of this guy's house, some diamonds out of this guy's house from the big boss, from Mr. E.
You listen to me, and you listen to me good. You get him, and you get the doll. You got it?
So he would infiltrate this house and find the jewels, but all the while the dumb guy never saw him. Was totally unaware that he was being burglarized. He'd be bouncing a ball off the wall.
I love my ball.
It'd go astray and hit the burglar in the head and knock him out. He'd fall in the pool. It was all slapstick, But it was our first actual, it had dialogue.
The guy knocked me in a pool. He what?
It was our pride and joy, and we loved showing it off to everybody that we knew, Look at this, we made a movie.
After The Burglar, our next major project was a film called Drug Wars. It started off when Eric and Patrick McGraw, they had to do a project for school.
It was a movie that I did for my 8th grade class, and it was about this guy who got hooked on a drug. I don't believe we ever said what drug it is.
Do you want the Coke or not?
It was about the guy's trouble with his friends finding out that he's on drugs, and his parents finding out that he's on drugs, and has this drug dealer that comes to the house and gives him the drugs, and his friend finds out and they get into a fight, and it's just a struggle with finding out that your best friend is on drugs and having to deal with it.
Now, looking back at it, we really didn't have much of a story. We never really sat down and wrote out our scripts. It was just basically a loose idea of a plot line that we wanted to stitch together. So we would just shoot scenes. You had to have a drug dealer. And then you had to have a drug deal. So we had the drug deal scene.
Okay, well, about how much do I owe you? About $280. $280? I was only able to swipe $213 from my parents.
The story it got a little confusing because the drug dealer winds up turning good.
No more!
The main drug addict winds up dying of an overdose.
Scott.
And of course, a thrown-in character, the character that Eric plays, in the end, after everyone else dies, his character quits drugs and moves to Hollywood and becomes a producer. So that was Eric's way of, he pretty much had control of stuff because he was the one who was always editing things. So I always thought that was funny how that story ended. After Drug Wars, we kind of went back to doing our usual little skits and episodes. We'd usually be sitting around Eric's house bored and wanted to do something, so we'd get out the camera and come up with some stupid little concept and we'd film it.
That's exactly what I wanted you to say.
Most of it was an inside joke. We'd just be goofing around, making up silly voices and stupid characters, and that's where a lot of our little skits generated from. So one night, Eric is spending the night at my house, and Eric just sits down with a notebook and starts writing.
I just grabbed a notebook and started writing.
And I just let him go, and I had no clue what he was doing, and we decided he was gonna write it and I wasn't gonna look until he was done, and then we were gonna start shooting it. And that became Wildos.
Phoenix Productions presents a movie that has touched the hearts of many. It's wild. It's crazy.
Obviously, his staircase does not reach his penthouse.
It's wilder.
You're my pet. I rented you at a garage sale. They never asked for you back, so I guess you're mine.
From the makers of Drug Wars and The Burglar, we bring to you a heartwarming story of a man and his friends.
Ever mention guilt again? We all know what happened.
It really didn't make any sense at all. The dialogue was very scrambled.
You were a failed attempt to clone a bottle of root beer.
The characters were very confusing and undefined.
What's that?
It was very bizarre. Again, it stemmed from our inside jokes. We kind of came up with this, I don't even call it a character, it was more of a saying or just a way of acting where you would be wild.
Oh yeah! Wow!
There's some footage of me just being me when I was that age, 15.
Cause wow! Yeah!
And it was that kind of behavior that became the character of Wildos.
Unlike you.
Wildos really caught on with our friends. I'm not exactly sure why. It's just so bizarre.
As the story progressed, I think the audience just kind of accepts the weirdness level of the movie and just kind of accepts these wacky characters for whatever they are.
The relationship between the two characters, I think, was genuine and what made it interesting and what led it to doing a sequel, which was Wildos 2.